Hi, welcome back to Takis McGinnis Elder Care Law Hour. We always like to explore the issues related to aging, chronic disability, and older people. And I'm Barbara McGinnis.
All right, and I'm Tim Takis, and on today's show we're discussing residential options for seniors. How can you use resources to successfully stay in your home and to successfully stay in your home as you age? And if that isn't possible, what options are you? Joining us in this segment is Richard Robinson, who is the Long Term Care Ombudsman for Region 5, which extends from Rutherford County all the way up to the Kentucky line. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you.
What's an ombudsman, and how do you cover so much territory if that's what you're doing?
Well, I have two associate ombudsmen who assist with that, and a wonderful core of about 30 volunteer ombudsmen who assist with it as well. But the Long-Term Care Ombudsman program was created in 1978 by the Older Americans Act, and our mission or our mandate is to be an advocate for residents of nursing homes, assisted care living facilities, and residential homes for the aged. With the residents' request and approval, we will advocate about whatever complaints they have about level of care, quality of life, or violations of their rights. And that basically, in a nutshell, is what we are. We are advocates for residents.
So we've had someone from Adult Protective Services on another episode. What's the difference between the Ombudsman program and Adult Protective Services, and when do you call you?
Okay. Well, the main difference is that Adult Protective Services is reactive, and the Ombudsman program is both reactive and proactive. Not only do we help residents resolve complaints about level of care, quality of life, or rights violations, but we also are in each of our facilities at least 4 times a year. And we tour the facility. We use our eyes, ears, and nose to assess any risks or poor quality of life for residents. We talk to residents about how they're being cared for, if they have any complaints. We also just make sure that the facility is safe for residents and that they are receiving the care that state and federal guidelines say that they should be receiving. Adult Protective Services, as I said, is primarily reactive. They will go into a facility only if there is a complaint. We don't wait for complaints. We're in the facility anyway.
And Adult Protective Services is what? I mean, we all know what it is. But
right. It's a program through the State Department of Human Services, and it investigates allegations of the abuse, neglect, and exploitation of vulnerable adults, either in facilities or outside of facilities. Another difference as well is that in terms of facilities, Adult Protective Services has a statutory limitation. They can only investigate if the alleged perpetrator is a caregiver. They would not investigate resident-on-resident issues. We don't have that limitation. We can go in and with the residents' approval can investigate and advocate on their behalf. Whether a caregiver in that facility is involved or not, we can do that. And also, Adult Protective Services has a triage system. There are some complaints they won't investigate. They won't look into cold coffee or cold food. But whereas the Ombudsman program, we have no such triage system. If the complaint is as simple as cold coffee, then we investigate and try to resolve the complaint. If it is more serious, like abuse, neglect, or exploitation, we also get involved with that as well. So if the resident has a complaint about another resident, then or about the level of care they're receiving, they should call the Ombudsman program if they can't resolve it themselves with management.
right, and we'll have a slide coming up here shortly and have your contact information.
Good.
So that's a lot. I'm sitting here thinking, if I'm watching the program, and I'm an older person, or I'm a family member of an older person, there's a lot of stuff to think about. So, I mean, certainly the laws and, and what you're talking now about good care and bad care. So how do you tell families how to get the right fit for their loved one?
Well, that's another service the Long Term Care Ombudsman program provides. We are a resource not just for residents of long-term care facilities, but also for community members or loved ones who are exploring long-term care possibilities. It's a very complex system. We can provide information to residents who are no longer able to live safely at home. We can help them get started on finding a long-term care facility. We can ask the right questions to assess their activities of daily living, whether they're more appropriate for a residential home for the aged or for an assisted care facility or for a nursing home. And we can help them navigate that. Or we can put them in touch with the people who can answer their questions if we're not able to.
I think a lot of times we see families that really do not have a good understanding or an understanding at all sometimes about the different levels of care, assisted livings versus nursing homes, homes for the aged versus assisted living. What's some of the qualifications to live in these different environments?
Well, the lowest level of care is a residential home for the aged. These are not regulated by the federal government, they're regulated by the state. And in a residential home for the aged, the assumption is that the resident can do most things for themselves, but they need to be with others either for socialization or just the comfort of knowing someone is available 24/7 if a need arises. Residential homes for the aged prepare meals. They have to have at least one staff person there awake and alert, 24/7. If a need arises, then they can summon the appropriate help for that person, and that's what a residential home for the aged does. Assisted care living facilities are the next level of care. They do everything an RHA does, but they provide a little more hands-on care for a resident. They provide assistance with bathing, with toileting, meal preparation, assistance with eating. They can provide meds management, and they also can provide specialized dementia or memory care in those facilities. And they are, again, assisted livings, again, are not regulated by the federal government. They're regulated by the states. So families just need to be sure they know what services they're buying if they're putting their loved one in an assisted care facility, because that contract will spell out what services that they are purchasing. And assisted livings provide a lot of other services beyond the basic contract, but there's usually an upcharge. If they do your laundry, if they bring your meds around to help you take them, there's usually an upcharge for that. So just be sure you know what you're buying.
You know, I'm thinking about there are misconceptions. We talked a little bit about that, about residential care facilities, and one of them that I don't think was mentioned is that sometimes our families feel that, or their loved ones feel that once they are moved to a care facility, that they have to do what they're told. So what kind of rights do people have?
Well, the residents do not check their rights at the door. Whether you're in an RHA or an assisted living or the highest level of care, which is nursing home care, you have basic rights that go with you into that facility. Residents have a lot of rights, but some of them include the right to privacy and care. If you're being changed, you can't be changed in a public area. Curtain has to be drawn in your room to give you some privacy. You have the right to refuse care and treatment. You have the right to send and receive unopened mail. You have the right to receive visitors from anyone you choose. The facility nor your family can make that decision for you. As long as your visitor complies with the facility regulations, you have the right to visitation from them. You have the right to participate in a resident council, the right to be free of restraints, and the right to retain and use your personal clothing. These are just a few of the rights that residents and facilities
It's actually quite a long list of resident rights, and I know you've only just scratched the surface, started talking about a few. We've got your contact information that we're going to put up on the screen, and we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to have with us a gentleman from Honeyco who's going to be talking about how to use technology to help people stay at home. We'll be right back.